the No Panic Zone, I'm Steve Gruber. I am America's voice. I'm an America First kind of guy, and I'm willing to tell you how it is every day as I call balls and strikes. If you don't like that, that's too bad because that's the way I roll, so let's get to it. Here are three big things you need to know right now. Number one, the United States crackdown on Chinese companies using slave labor is really putting a pinch on solar panel production. How shocking. Number two, the purveyors of COVID porn are still dealing in the only stock they have, fear, even though nobody's buying it anymore, and some are admitting the death count may be over 70% overcounted. And number three, the globalists are assembled in Davos, Switzerland this week as they discuss how to control your future and how they will dictate that future to you. Nice. They have plenty of ideas, I can assure you, but they rarely, if ever, think of you or me. You see, we really don't matter. You see, on the road to the World Economic Forum's New World Order and Utopia, they don't care. They've thought of everything. In fact, from the genius of Ayn Rand distilled through the year 2112, I have this observation of those who are atop the pedestal. We've taken care of everything, the words you read and the songs you sing, the pictures that give pleasure to your eyes. It's one for all for one. We work together, common sons, never need to wonder how or why. Write that one down, or go listen to it again. Yes, they stand there screaming at you for having a gas stove and an SUV while they circumnavigate the globe in custom Gulfstream jets, screaming along at 35,000 feet, leaving a carbon footprint in one day larger than most people will create in years, just trying to make ends meet, feed their families, and pay the rent. How dare they? Here's the bottom line. They don't care what happens to you, or a few billion people like you. They will dine on Wagyu beef and caviar from high atop their mountain villas while decrying you wanting to jump in your car and go for a drive. Yeah, it's all true. The push toward ending car ownership and mobility is in full swing at the Davos conference, where the globalists are charting your future without your input at all. Listen.
In Zurich, we have a lot of districts where you actually don't need a car because all the activities, school, buying something, everything you can do in walking distance, And by doing that, people don't buy a car, and it's not felt like actually they would like to have a car and they are not allowed to have it, but they simply don't need it because the environment was built in a way that they don't need it. And I think this is what policy needs to do. They have to change the environment, so a sustainable lifestyle, a lifestyle in harmony with nature.
What happened to that kid? He was probably bright enough as a child, but his brain got warped. You're not allowed to have a car, but you don't need it. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy, remember? But I want a car. You can't have it. And you don't need it anyway. Anything you need is within walking distance. I don't want to walk. We don't care. But the big disappointment in Davos this week, however, is the imploding White House. It's hard to usher in the new world order they have designed when there is a totally inept and senile old man rattling around in the West Wing with no real concept of what is supposed to happen next. And doesn't remember what happened recently. I mean, they must know by now that he is really screwing things up. And if it continues, a barbarian like Donald Trump will likely bust down the gate again. In fact, it could be Donald Trump himself again, giving the globalists their biggest nightmare of all. Clearly, Joe Biden is not in charge, but that is not the real problem now. The real problem is the revelation, or more accurately, the multiple revelations that Joe Biden and his people have been dragging around classified and top secret documents for at least 6 years, maybe much longer. And nobody seems to know who may have had access to them, or what was done with them, or how many are still out there. This is putting the White House in both legal and political peril, and whether or not they admit it, they damn well know it. In fact, the biggest bombshell yet went off on Monday, when the old man's handlers said they've not kept a record of who came and went from one of the places many of the documents were found, the garage in Wilmington, Delaware, where Joe, of course, keeps his prized Chevrolet Corvette, not an EV, a Chevrolet Corvette. But we do know at least one person that's been in and out of that house and that garage on several occasions over the past 6 years. That is the president's drug-addicted, drug-addled son, Hunter, who also implicates dear old dad in several emails that were discovered after he could not remember where the hell he left his laptop, his now infamous laptop. So now you have to ask, who was with Hunter in and out of the house? Did he have other folks snorting cocaine and smoking meth? Did he have a couple of hookers stop in for sport? Did he give a ride around town? In the Corvette, I mean, not with the hookers. Jeez. Well, we don't know because the Biden team says they have no visitor logs at all. None for the president's home since he took the oath of office, leaving up to everyone's imagination who may have passed by a pile of top-secret documents sitting on the floor of Joe's garage. And that's put the Democrat media in a really tough spot, it really has. They want to cover up for the old man, his feeble mental abilities. I mean, they did the heavy lifting of getting him elected, and trust me, millions of Biden voters will remember if they were lied to and sold a bill of goods, which, of course, they were. Let me give you an example of just how far off the rails the leftist cheerleaders are willing to go. How far off the rails are they willing to go? Senator Ron Johnson hammered little Chucky Todd for his one-sided anti-Republican stance and rants and willful ignorance on stories like Hunter Biden. Listen to this.
Chuck, is it a crime to be soliciting and purchasing prostitution in potentially European sex trafficking operations? Is that a crime? Because Chuck Grass and I laid out about $30,000 paid by Hunter Biden to those types of individuals over December 2018, 2019, about $30,000. This is about the same time that President Biden offered to pay about $100,000 of Hunter Biden's bills. I mean, again, that's just some information. I don't know exactly.
Here's what I don't get. All right, Senator.
It doesn't really look on the. It sounds sleazy, as you know.
I'll take you at your word that you're ethically bothered by Hunter Biden. I'm curious, though. You seem to have a pattern.
Are you not?
I seem to have a pattern.
Yeah, see, Chuck Todd just can't get it. In fact, Chuck Todd's bias is so blatant, it runs so deep that he mocks Senator Johnson and gets called out for being a hack, which he is, and then pulls a stunt proving Ron Johnson is absolutely spot on and right about everything he says about this clown. Now, I can't get to it quite yet because it runs quite long. So that's going to be the thing that I'm going to keep you through the break with. Chuck Todd getting smacked about by Senator Ron Johnson. Oh, it is sporting, and it is sporty, too. So back to Davos. Here's their problem. They're trying to push this agenda on you and I. They're trying to push this agenda of their Green New Deal, their globalist idea of controlling everything. Where you drive, how you heat your home, what you eat. No meat, of course. They want to know how many units of energy you use every day. They want to see if your posts on social media fit the narrative that's acceptable. You know, there's a member of Congress right now who wants to ban speech from white people only. White people would be committing a crime if they complained about the southern border or other issues facing this country. Oh, yeah. It's absolutely true. Sheila Jackson Lee wants to move to end free speech for white people. She introduced the Leading Against White Supremacy Act of 2023. Some things you can't make up. Some things you can't make up. How sad is that? Anyhow, good to see you. Glad you're here. I'm just getting warmed up. Get some coffee. I'll be back in a moment.